everybody. Adam Greenberg with Coldwell Banker Distinctive Properties and the Montana Real Estate Consultants Group. And I am super excited today to introduce you to one of our local rock stars and a good friend of mine as well, Mr. Paul Durham of Black Lab. How you doing, Paul?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
It's nice to see a face here in isolation.
Yeah, I know, right? How are things going in your world of isolation? Have you been all alone? Has your son been with you or anything? Or
my son is quarantining at his mom's, so I go over there every day or two and we take the dog for a walk. So I've been seeing him, but he's not here, so I miss him, and
right.
Trying to keep my parents corralled, trying to get them to behave and not get sick.
I hear you. I feel you.
Yeah.
So I know time is of the essence here. So let's maybe jump in real quick, and you can just kind of give people a background, like where you grew up.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So go ahead.
So I grew up down the road in Twin Falls, Idaho, and then lived in California for about 15 years. I was in San Francisco and Berkeley and then LA. Started, had bands there, and then started Black Lab and kind of got a record deal and did that whole thing. And I guess I should go more chronologically.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. So yeah, I was in the Bay Area and had a couple bands, got a record deal, and we had a couple of singles on the air in the late 90s that did really well, and toured all over the country and played big festivals, opened for Green Day and Foo Fighters and Stone Temple Pilots and lots of those kind of 90s era bands.
Nice.
and then the whole business started collapsing with Napster and kind of the death of the CD. And so Geffen, which when we signed to it was really like the premier major label, folded. And we'd sold enough records. We'd sold a couple 100,000 records, so we didn't get dropped, but we hadn't sold enough that we could actually get our calls returned by Interscope, which is the company that inherited all the Geffen artists. So I had to go have a meeting with the president of Interscope and beg him to drop us, to let us out of our deal so that we could go get another deal somewhere else. So I did that. I went and got a deal with Sony, and we made a second record, and then that company really collapsed, Epic. And I just ended up with my album that I had produced, and we'd spent 2 years making, and we ended up in Montana. My wife was like, I don't want to be in LA while you just go off on tour like you did last time. And so I said, so we had some friends here, and so I was like, well, why don't we move you up to Montana, and then I'll go on tour, and then when I come back, we'll figure out where we want to go or what we want to do after that. And then the Sony collapse happened, and I didn't get the back end of my record deal and my publishing deal, and all of a sudden we lived in Montana. I was like, how do I do the music business from Montana? Because I was used to getting record deals and getting big checks and having to deal with bands members and lawyers and managers and business managers and A&R guys and all that stuff. And really a lot of that stuff just kind of dissolved during that time, that model, unless you were like a big famous person having lots of success, that model really went away. So I just had to teach myself HTML and learn how to put it online and start selling to people directly. I was like, I don't know what else to do. I have this album. I have this like $250,000 album. I got to find a way to sell it, because the traditional outlets were going away. And so that's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you were younger and getting into music, like, well, what got you in? Was someone in your family a musician already, or did you just, what attracted you to music, and like who were the people you were listening to when you were growing up?
I don't know. I just always sang, like I had a lawn mowing business when I was a kid, and I just would like sing behind the lawnmower. I mean, it was just always like a part of my life. I sang in choirs. My choir teacher in middle school and high school was really an important mentor for me. So I sang in his choirs. I sang in the jazz choir. I sang in the, chamber choir. And I don't know. I dislocated my shoulder skateboarding in high school, so I started playing guitar and writing songs, and then I went to college on a music scholarship. And when you go to college on a vocal scholarship, basically what happens is you get there and then they start teaching you how to sing opera. And I was like, I don't want to sing opera. I want money to go to school, but I don't want to sing opera, So I couldn't do that, and I just kind of like was in bands and was making recordings, and
So you,
then yeah.
so you went to Oberlin in Ohio, right?
Yeah, I went to Oberlin. I mean, that was the other thing, is I went to Oberlin, and I had always been the best singer in my school, and then I get to Oberlin, which is this serious conservatory, and I was like, wow, I am not even near the best singer in this school. And so I just kind of concentrated on my liberal arts studies and didn't do the music thing there. Yeah.
Gotcha. I grew up in Cleveland, so I was always
So you know
hanging
about
out
Oberlin.
over in Oberlin. Yeah,
Yeah.
know it
Yeah.
well. Yeah, good school.
Yeah. I mean, and people there were just crazy, like pre-professional. They were pre-professional opera singers. They were going to be in New York in 5 years, So that was not me.
um, so okay, you leave Oberlin. I take it that's when you headed out to LA,
Yeah, San Francisco.
San
Yep,
Francisco,
yep.
and
The Bay Area, and yeah.
and you formed Black Lab with your group. How'd you,
Mhm.
first of all, how'd you guys come up with that name?
Oh my gosh. I had had a name. I had a band that was just under my name, and then we almost got a record deal, and then it all fell apart, and so it kind of dissolved. And my friend, the guitar player Herschel, went and got a job with Chris Isaac. So then I was like, you know what? It was more like a kind of roots acoustic rock band, and I realized what I wanted is I wanted a big noisy alternative band. So I just kind of started over, and I just went and got like the best drummer and the best bass player and the heaviest guitar player I could find in the Bay Area. And then we needed a name, and we just kept not having a name and kept not having a name. And we kind of like slid in with that name at the last minute. I don't know, rock band names are really hard. I like other rock band names, and I'm always like, oh, why didn't I think of that cool rock band name, but so it was okay. We thought like, oh, it'll be like Black Lab. It'll be like dark and scary for like people who want dark and scary music, but it'll also be kind of warm and fuzzy for people who are scared of dark and scary. So,
Right.
but I don't think it really played out that way.
Um,
uh,
so for many people that might be watching this now that don't really know what tour life is like, to go out and promote your album,
yeah.
Maybe just give people a little bit of an insight or into that life, because that
Yeah.
life is definitely not for everybody.
No.
In full disclosure, for people that don't know, I'm also a musician as well.
Yes.
And
Adam and I have spent significant amount of time in my living room
yes,
pounding out songs.
where you're sitting now, yeah.
Exactly where I'm sitting now, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I did some van tours, but mostly for the year and a half I was on tour, I was under the auspices of a major label that was spitting out hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote our record because it was on every radio station. We were on the rock stations, we were on the pop stations. And so for a band that hadn't sold very many records, we had it pretty good, but it was not for me. It was not the life for me.
You didn't like living in hotel
I
rooms, like
don't
eating
like living in hotel rooms. I don't like
gas
being in
station
a
food.
bus with stinky dudes for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. I mean, the truth is like being on tour is the greatest thing in the world for 8, 9 days, maybe 10 days. I mean, it's just the greatest thing in the world. It's like the ultimate road trip where you get to like rock out and girls want to talk to you. I mean, it's amazing, and then I would just get tired. I would just be tired, man. I would just want to go home. I mean, I remember being up in front of 70,000 people in Florida and the whole crowd going crazy because we were playing these songs that were on the radio and they knew, and I just wanted to go home. I would have traded that moment for a night in my own bed. So I'm kind of a wimp in that way. I like to stay home. I like to write songs. I like to record. So that's kind of the life that I've carved out for myself. I collaborate with guys in LA, and I have an agent in LA and New York that sells stuff to film and TV and commercials. And for a while I was working with commercial composers, and had a ringtones company before everyone put their phone on vibrate. So I've just kind of like figured out a way to put a living together, living up here.
Nice. Yeah, I know it can be hard here in rural Montana.
It can be. It's not the biggest. I mean, really, it's kind of the same. It's almost. I almost do business the same here as I would if I was in LA. Actually, if I was in LA, I would be taking a lot more lunch meetings that are a complete waste of time. Like I would be spending a bunch of time in traffic, driving over to Hollywood or over to Santa Monica to take some lunch meeting that, not really going to lead to anything. It's just like what you do when you're in LA. So
Right.
now I
So
just
you
fly in and do those things.
so for the lay person that doesn't really know, and maybe, I've asked this question of other artists as well.
Yeah.
What's your process for when you're writing music? Is it something where, and I'm going to guess it's all of the above, but do you have a theme and then you write the lyrics first, the music comes next, the music comes first, the lyrics come? I mean, how does that work for you?
I would say at this point, my process tends to be I'm doing something, I'm washing the dishes, I'm driving, and I'll just kind of notice that there's a melody in my head, or there's some kind of driving, repetitive thing that's like got kind of grabbed my attention. And a lot of times that melody, or that musical feeling, or that musical movement has got some words attached to it. Or so I'll just open up my phone, open up my voice memos, and I'll start just humming into my phone. Or so if there's only a melody, I'll just hum the melody into my phone, or I'll just sing some nonsense words. And generally, or there will be some words attached to it. There will be like a lyric hook, like a central kind of thing that, the coat hanger that the song hangs on is the hook, the thing you
I like that.
remember.
I haven't heard that before. But I like the coat hanger that the song hangs on. That's
Yeah,
good.
the thing, like, oh, that song that Stand By Me song or whatever, like that's so Stand By Me, that's the hook, right? So that will kind of emerge maybe, and I'll just put it all on my phone, and I'll just I'll expand it and develop it as much as I can for as long as I feel inspired, uh, for as long as I have, and then I'll just turn it off and forget about it, and then what I'll do is I'll download it onto my computer and I'll put all these ideas into Pro Tools, and I'll have my microphone on and my headphones on, and I'll have it with my guitar, and then I'll go through these ideas and I'll listen to them. And when I hear them, I'm hearing them for the first time, really, because, hundreds of ideas, and might have been 6 months ago that I put this idea down. And so I'm hearing it for the first time. And so it's like, a lot of times it's like same old crap, like that's such a typical idea that I would have. Like, why would I think that's interesting? Why would I take the time to record it? That's actually, frankly, the majority of the ideas. And then once in a while, like, this idea will pop out and it will just be this really distinct and, for me, unique idea that also, because it came out of me, has clearly got some resonance there. And then if I really resonate with that idea, I will just hit record, and then I'll start doing more improvisation, because I don't know, the older I get, the less interesting it is to me to try to sit down and just hammer out lyrics and hammer out melodies and hammer out an arrangement. Because when I do that, I end up just getting more of the same, more of the stuff that I'm already familiar with, that my listeners are already familiar with. It's just not that exciting or inspiring. Like, what's exciting and inspiring to me is something that's different. I was like, oh, that's different. For me, that's unusual. That chord change, or that transition into this, or that kind of, intervals that I'm singing there is interesting, So I really try to pursue that, and I try to just let my unconscious mind spit as much stuff out as I can. And then if I'm really excited about it, then I'll like put a little note there, like, this is really good. This is like, mid-tempo, blues inflected, whatever. And then I'll come back to it the next time, and then I will do another round of that kind of improvisation, responding, and then I'll just kind of put my hard hat on and go to work sculpting it into an actual song. Take all this inspiration, and I'll have to just go in and like build the lattice work that goes between the structures. And that's more where the craft comes in, and making sure that the rhymes are strong. And it's hard to come up with things that don't sound stupid. It's just super, super hard to write lyrics that I feel like I could actually sit in front of people and sing, so it's a lot of work.
No, that's awesome. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. Well, that's cool. So now we're here, we're in Bozeman.
Yeah.
You've settled down, and you're doing what I would call your studio work at home.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing now? What are your future plans? I know you've been dabbling in a lot of different stuff, but
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to go to Paris and play some shows, and then do a little mini tour in the UK and Ireland, and all that stopped. I've been producing so all that got shut down. I've been producing other artists. I've been working as a kind of artist coach for people who like want to be creative, but it's hard to be creative. I mean, being creative is like starting a new business, or starting a new exercise weight loss regime, or starting a novel, starting to write songs, like all these things, unless you're in a very professional long-term groove, they're hard things to initiate. And yet many of us have creative pursuits that we would like to begin and develop before we get too old to do it.
Right.
So So anyway, I kind of like provide some of that structure for people to um, do creative work. And I produce other artists, which means I have them come into my studio and we'll work on the songs and I'll record them and make it all sound good and stuff like that. So all that work has gone away as well. uh, so what am I doing? I mean, I'm posting. I'm trying to go live every day on Facebook. So I'm trying to
What's the name of your page? Is that on your personal page or on the Black Lab page?
on the Black Lab page. So I think it's Black Lab Band Facebook. Facebook.com/Black Lab Band, and and then I post it to my Instagram, and it's just Paul Black Lab, and so that's been good because it's been getting me more comfortable with just like turning my phone on and playing, even if I don't feel like I totally know the song, or even if I've just kind of moved to do an improvisation, or like this cover popped into my, like yesterday morning, I was like, oh, I was like, man, I do not want to do this. I do not want to go live. I want to read the newspaper online and sulk, right? And I was like, oh, I got to do this thing, but then this idea popped into my head. It's like, oh, Wicked Game. I'd love to do a cover of Wicked Game. And it's like, okay,
Sounded
cool.
great. I saw it.
Oh, thank you. But now I have to go learn Wicked Game, right? I have to go like figure it out. And, I realized yesterday after I had done it that I didn't even go look at the chords. I just kind of like sounded them out, on my guitar. And then it would have been awesome to actually go and like get a tab somewhere. But anyway, I'm sure it was fine. That's the point. It's like, even if it's really bad, it doesn't matter because it's just like going to be tomorrow soon. So, so I feel like in a way I'm using this time to just stir the pot. I mean, I'm also working on some songs, but in a way I'm kind of like trying to get my marketing, my listener relationship skills improved. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, in music, in anything you do, whether it's, you have this passion for it, but there still is a lot of, I don't know, I guess, for lack of a better term, back end work and structural things that have to be done. You want to play music, you want to sing, but yeah, you have to be very business savvy, like you were just talking about. You have to know how to go out and talk to these A&R people. You have to know how to, record your music. You have to know how to, all of those things. I think some people have, the romantic idea of the artist or the rock star or the painter, but there is a lot of knowledge and studying that goes into that final product. And I don't know about you, but for me, it's always, the glorifying part of everything is the process, and the end product is, it's the goal, but it's the process. It's during the process that you learn more about yourself, and that's where the fun is. I mean, obviously that the accolades and everything that come from the final product are awesome, but it's kind of, to me, and maybe this isn't for you, but that's secondary to the process and, going through and writing the song. Artists, obviously we take things from our lives and we pour that into our art. So, if you're going through something, that might come out in your music or whatever. So I think it's important for people, like you were just saying, if you have a passion and you want to start a business of anything, that you have to be ready to, it's not just all fun and games. You have to be ready to buckle down and actually work at it. It's even the most talented people aren't always, the greatest singers and the greatest musicians aren't always the most successful because they don't have that other piece of the puzzle of knowing how to do the business end of it. And that's just as important today, especially because, like you were just saying, we're almost all on our own now. Everything's online, like we're doing here. And you now have the ability to reach out and touch people that, 20 years ago, you needed an A&R or a label to do.
I mean, it is, there's great things about making music in this time. The technology, you know, like I have everything I need to make a record in my studio. You know, I can bring you over and record amazing drums in my living room, you know, with a few microphones, just because of the gear that I have. And
Right.
but so much of it is the back end. I mean, it's just a grind. It's just like anything else that anybody else does. And I mean, frankly, like big rock stars, I mean, I've never had a giant crowd singing my lyrics back to me. So that might be super awesome. You know, that might be so amazing that I would be willing to go live on the road 9 months a year, that I might be willing to, get up at 6 a.m. and talk to stupid morning drive shock jocks, you know, and do meet and greets all day and do interviews all day. I mean, that was one of the things that I would get so tired, because I was the singer in my band. I was just doing interviews all day long. And you're thinking like, oh, poor you, you're complaining about having to do interviews. And it's like, yeah, it's cool to do an interview like the first 10 times. And then after that, it's not cool, man. It's not fun. It's like, I don't want to talk about my boring self anymore. I would rather do anything else, take out the garbage, or, you know, like clean the garage. It's amazing. So
Right.
the grind of putting your art out there is really, really intense, and it just requires a level of consistency. And sometimes I'm consistent, sometimes I'm not. You know, my fans are very patient and enduring, so I appreciate them a lot for that.
Nice.
I mean, I also just get interested in other things. You know, I have a coaching program for young people, for young creatives who maybe don't want to go to college or want to take a gap year, so they can find a way to make a living in what they want to do, or get the kind of like real world training that a college doesn't provide, you know. And you know, just that just came out of naturally, kind of out of the mentoring work that I was doing with the sons and daughters of friends of mine, you know. So I don't know. I like to do a lot of different things, and I get distracted, and you know, sometimes I wish I was just one of those guys that just wanted to play and sing all the time, every day, even if they have to drive and sleep on couches. But I just have never been that guy. So
Hey, you got to be you. I
gotta
know
be
you have,
me, man.
yeah, I know you got to jump on another call, but let's say someone wants to get a hold of you for any of
Yeah,
those reasons. They want to talk to you about your
sure,
music. They want to talk to you about the mentoring, perhaps.
sure,
Um,
sure.
what's your phone number and an email that someone can reach out to you at?
Phone is 310-480-6658. Just text me there. My email is paul@blacklabworld.com. Black Lab World is my band's website. Or you can messenger me on Facebook. I'm, you know, Paul Durham in Bozeman, and the my young artist mentoring coaching program is called Year One Education. So that's at year1education.com. And yeah, I'm just, you
Awesome.
know, in my house in Bozeman, like everyone else.
Like me, yeah, like everyone else. That's right. Well, man, I really
Yeah.
appreciate you
Oh yeah,
jumping on
man.
here with me and
My
doing this.
pleasure. I
Yeah,
appreciate you inviting me. It's fun.
yeah. And I hope if anyone's watching this and you want to reach out to Paul, please do. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met and had the
Oh,
fun of spending time with. And we have to
that's
get
good.
back together and do some
Dude, we got to
playing.
play some music, man. We got
I
to
know.
play some music. We have to not only play some music, we have to go get some gigs.
Yes, I know that's the next step.
Adam and I are just like, I don't know, man, about getting a gig. Let's just have another rehearsal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Um, and thanks for watching, everybody. And we will see you soon.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.